Diddy's lawyer says that the feds want to take down a successful black man. Yeah, you could say that Diddy's successful. He does have accolades. He was considered a billionaire. However, the way that he's achieved his success is basically through ill-gotten gain. Not completely, but that's what he's been charged for, is the negatives. And those negatives include being a gatekeeper. And so Diddy's lawyer is playing the race card.
Unfreaking believable.
Right. America and really the world has not really fully grasped the concept of black people will do negative stuff to other black people. There have been a couple of accusers to come forward who are not black, who have complained about different things, and they'll probably get Diddy with a civil lawsuit. But you can't really say that the feds are trying to take down a black man and that is racially motivated, because the black man they're talking about was taking down other black people. There's a whole list of different people who have filed civil lawsuits, who have done interviews and have talked about how horrible Diddy was to their career, including Shine. Shine was set up by Diddy, did like 10 years. A lot of people who have been under Diddy, under Bad Boy, were successful commercially, but they're broke now.
But that's okay.
Diddy and his lawyer, Mark, appearing on a TMZ Studios documentary, The Downfall of Diddy, The Indictment, which is on Tubi. Now, how bad has it got to be that you got stuff on Tubi? Tubi is the new bootleg. It used to be Redbox, but now it's Tubi. I've never watched Tubi, but I hear it's bootleg. His documentary to drop on Tubi, and he says the feds are targeting Diddy because of the color of his skin. They're basically pulling anything out of their hat that they could use to try to, we'll just say, win the court of public opinion, going to be the jury pool. And the irony is that the guy who gave Diddy a key to the city, Mayor Eric Adams, basically said the same thing after being indicted by the feds on campaign finance, bribery, and conspiracy charges. Everybody's going down.
What you do, dumbass?
And everybody has always wanted to go to a freak-off or a white party. Partying with Diddy became the hip thing to do, and now everybody may be on tapes. Those tapes may be used to hurt careers and help save Diddy's. And now we see why the federal government has a 99% success rate for prosecution. The feds can give people immunity, have them sign a proffer agreement, which allows a person, he or she or them, to speak to federal investigations without fear of prosecution. And one of the workers turned over alleged Diddy freak-off tape, which alleges the encounters with the worker who was videotaped, and the tape is now in the hands of federal prosecutors. See, other people are going to come forward with their tapes, and those tapes are going to be used to either protect themselves, because the federal government put out a bat signal saying that, hey, if you know anything about these tapes or you may be on these tapes, come forward now before we bring down the hammer.
I tried to tell these niggas earlier when this dumbass bitch did the dumb whole shit.
A lot of you all did stuff. Maybe you knew you were being recorded, didn't know you were being recorded, and you're going to be looking dumb, especially when the trial happens and your name is brought out there, and now you got to step down from your position. Now you have to have your career ruined, all because you wanted to have some fun. The male worker met with the feds, signed the proffer agreement, which allows him to speak to Fed investigators without fear of prosecution. A lot of other people are going to be given the same deal. And don't be surprised if when Puff Daddy, let's say he does a plea deal or he is found guilty, that he doesn't start talking and start letting off rounds to reduce his sentence or get himself off. No Diddy. The conversation revolved around Diddy, with the man explaining how he got in touch with an escort to engage in a freak-off involving himself, Diddy, and a woman. Prosecutors have said the freak-offs, instances of group sex, are the center of their criminal case against Combs. So in other words, there's people who are participating in the freak-offs, and they did it under coercion. Sources say the man also dished out what types of drugs Diddy allegedly liked to use during the sessions, as well as details about one specific encounter he claims was caught on tape. So the reason why this is important is because you can't consent to an act if you're under the influence of anything. So someone may be on a tape doing something, smiling, having a great time, but if that person comes forward and says, I was given something, this was unwanted, and they were on a drug, it's a wrap. That could be said that that person was trafficked. even though they didn't go to law enforcement themselves, if they go now they can become a witness on an encounter on a tape. Tapes are good and tapes are bad. There's videos going around the internets showing Diddy going around before people go into a freak off, collecting everyone's phones. Well, the collecting of phones, turns out it wasn't enough because people are coming forward, they're telling their stories, and I don't think Diddy's ever going to recover from this.
Slayer.
I even see him getting the Epstein treatment while locked up. Don't be surprised if he's no longer with us. Just saying. The horrible thing about this is that his kids and family name is going to be tarnished no matter what happens. There's people, including Kim Porter's twins, Diddy's sons, who have been alleged to be guilty of stuff. A lot of them and their kids are not going to be able to use their father's name to be able to be successful in the industry. Now, part of me kind of feels bad for him because if you're associated with Diddy, you're going to have it harder. But the other part of me is like, well, if you were involved in helping to hurt other people, then good. You should be given the black eye for the rest of your life. The worker claims he flew from Atlanta to Miami to meet up with Diddy and the woman, and he ended up having intercourse with her while Diddy filmed the encounter. Nothing wrong with that, but if she's under the influence, if she was coerced, like a threat that her career would not take off, or if she didn't do this thing, X was going to happen, and she was under the influence of stuff, that's a negative thing. Somehow the worker had a copy of the video from the alleged encounter and turned it over to the agents who met with him. I wouldn't be surprised if other people also had copies of tapes and copies of videos. And this, to me, smells just like R. Kelly. What's interesting about the worker's account is it lines up with what Diddy's attorney, Mark, told TMZ about the Freakoffs. He said the Freakoffs were not wild orgies and simply threesomes with consenting adults. Well, were they consenting? I think it's going to come out that a lot of people who are going to be testifying for the prosecution are going to say, not only was it not consenting because I was under the influence, but if I didn't do this thing, that was going to be the end of my career and my livelihood. Diddy says that he will testify in his criminal case. He can't wait to do it. He's chomping at the bit to do it. And guess who else is going to probably be testifying? Everyone else who was involved. And some people are even going to revitalize their careers because of this. One of them is Karen Steffens, also known as Superhead. Yeah, her. Imagine finding out that the person who was labeled as Superhead was actually human trafficked. That'd be horrible. Superhead says she was a frequent guest at Diddy's, and she was first exposed to the dangerous and disgusting behavior of hip hop stars when she was gifted to Diddy February 2001, fresh off his split from Jennifer Lopez. That was right after the gun charges that were filed, where Shine did 10 years and then was deported after a day of popping pills and drinking with music executive Irv Gotti around LA in a limousine. Her revelations come during an in-depth interview with the Daily Beast. Karen no longer goes by the name Superhead. She'll always be known as Superhead. Always be known as Superhead.
Oh my God!
Yeah, she's always going to be known as that. That's the reason why she's on here called Superhead. She legally changed her name to Elizabeth Ovacine, trying to get her life back from her hoe phase. She says, in retrospect, I realized that I was given to him as a gift by another executive. She's 46 now. In an interview with the Daily Beast, Diddy's car pulled up. As they were leaving a club around 3 a.m., she remembered he asked who I was, and the men spoke for me. Those men, she alleges in her 2005 Vixen memoir, were Murder Inc. Records boss Irv Gotti and Ja Rule. So they were being pulled into this. Diddy, known as Puff Daddy back then, was at the forefront of the $1 Million Look, and she knew meeting him at the club was an opportunity. The reason why a lot of people have not really come forward and went to the cops, or law enforcement haven't taken them seriously, and I'm not victim shaming here, but most of the people who did the freak-offs, took these pills or drugs, did this and did that, they did it because they wanted opportunity. And I think that's what's going to be a part of Puff Daddy's defense, and that saying that there was things that were done between two consenting people, and they claimed that they were going to publicly shame me if I didn't give him an opportunity. And the people who like Superhead are going to say, well, I did this and didn't really talk because I wanted the opportunity. It's going to be said somehow that the opportunity wasn't what she thought it was going to be. And that's why she made her book. That's why other people came forward with stuff. And that's why people are filing civil suits. And it's unfortunate because that's pretty much how these things work with the gatekeepers. They hold stuff over your head, and then when everything hits the fan, they could say, well, this person was going to exploit me, put my name out there and ruin me. If I didn't give them more and more and more, I'm just as much a victim as they are. So he was like, send her to my house. And that was it. I got the order to go to his house, and that was the first time he and I spent time. This language is somewhat human trafficking language. The state charge is prostitution. The federal charge would be human trafficking. So if she says that she was somewhat coerced into going over there and perform acts, that could be considered human trafficking, which is a part of Diddy's charges. And she could be a witness and testify for stuff as far as human trafficking. This rabbit hole can expose a lot of people. What she's saying is basically Irv Gotti and Ja Rule were the ones who basically pimped her out to Puff Daddy. There's going to be thousands of stories like this where people are victims because of coercion, and a lot of other people's names are going to be dragged in the mud and their careers are going to be ended. And I say that's a good thing. And here's why. Because they're gatekeepers. There are a lot of people who have talent and had talent, and because they didn't do something with someone else, they were put on a shelf and you probably have never heard of them. Like, for example, Cassie's Me and You, that was made before she got with Puff Daddy, is all she's known for. I mean, she's known for now filing the civil suit against Puff Daddy for millions of dollars and him settling. But that's pretty much all she really was able to do as far as her dreams and aspiration and career was the Me and You, that one song. Imagine how many other people got put through the ringer and their career was destroyed by being promised XYZ if you perform. And if you don't perform, your career is going to be over. It's a horrible situation with the gatekeepers. And I think it's great that a lot of stuff is being exposed. We know it's always going to happen, but at least some people will get some form of justice, because whatever comes out with this criminal trial with the federal government, and the federal government has unlimited resources, meaning that instead of you as a person trying to file a civil suit having to hire investigators, you have the government who will go and unearth a lot of stuff, and you can use what was presented in Diddy's criminal trial to help you with your civil case. So this is a great thing for people who are victims, to help get restitution, help shine light on different things, and people who want to get in the entertainment industry, including movies, television, they can be given another heads up as to what to expect. And thanks to the internet and thanks to the public opinion changing on what is a victim and how people can be victimized, more people can come forward and make things easier for themselves. So this is a great thing. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. Thumbs up the video, share to your social media, subscribe, click the notification bell. I'm Spade Parkland. Thanks for watching. Go forth, do great things, and I'm out. Peace.
Spade Parkland.
Use my Cash App card when I cash her out. No. 50 on Cash App, then I ask her out.
Cash App, what's your Cash App? Cash App, what's your Cash App?
Get on your Cash App, $
Spade Parkland.
We're going to start getting some work done, family. So please get them donations in. Get them in. $
Spade Parkland.
So even though she has described herself as basically being human trafficked, she says, I was not one of his victims. And his victims deserve the space and time to discuss what happened in those rooms at one alleged party, Diddy's mansion. At one party allegedly at Diddy's mansion on Miami Star Island, the same mansion he allegedly put up as bail collateral after his September 16 arrest on racketeering and trafficking charges. Superhead remembers it like The Great Gatsby. Men in tuxedos, topless women in angel wings, champagne and synchronized swimmers on the outside with group relations in the bathrooms, trays of hors d'oeuvres and drug pills being passed around on the inside, like the movie Babylon. You choose your pill, you take your champagne, and that's your vibe for the night. It was intense. She adds that was kind of one scene, but there's more. She says seeing a video of Diddy attacking this then girlfriend Cassie after an alleged freak-off was triggering. She says, I didn't watch the whole thing. It was very triggering. I knew exactly what that was, revealing that she has been frequently abused by rappers that she dated. I know exactly how that feels. I know exactly how that feels. And I think the reason why she's saying she's not a victim is because she's going to continue to do appearances and sell books. She may be still involved with people. And that's the other shoe that's probably going to drop. And that is that you got people who still want to have relations with people who were negative to them and abusive of others. They still want to have those relations, even though they speak about it vaguely. And that's kind of what the spider's web is that even though Diddy's doing these freak-offs and everybody knows about the spiked baby oil, allegedly, they know about this, the whole give your phone up and take this pill before you go inside and people graping people, this and that. People still want to do business with Diddy unless he's found guilty. So if he pleads guilty and does a little bit of time and gets out, people are still going to want to do business with him, even though his name is tarnished. And that is why the machine is never going to truly be changed, because those with power, those with money, those with connections, those with things to hold over someone else's head, they're always going to be in the industry one way or another. And they're always going to be gatekeepers. And even after all this stuff happens, unless they're in prison for the rest of their life, like R. Kelly, or they're completely disgraced, like Epstein or Harvey Weinstein, they're always going to be a gatekeeper. People are going to eventually move on to the next flavor of the week, flavor of the month. And those people who are gatekeepers are still going to be allowed to victimize others. And I don't really see it changing, but this is a good thing because some people will get restitution. More people will be able to know about what goes on in the industry to prevent them from being victims. And hopefully those people who have been kind of like hiding in shame and secrecy, they'll get a chance to come forward and speak their piece and probably have a weight taken off their shoulders. So she adds, it's not just Diddy and it's not just music or hip hop. The problem, she says, is men who deep down hate women. So that's a conversation. And she's basically talking about dudes that are jealous of women. They want to be women and they don't believe that women should be anything except for a less than. So that's an interesting take. And that's also another conversation that's been happening, which is good because there's so many people who will join in with, we'll just say, negative people to say negative things about women, when in fact the women are being labeled as things that they're not, and they're being forced to do so. So that's a good thing. And that is a good thing in having the conversation about men who hate women, which is misogyny. And so that's Karen Steffens. That's a picture of her outside of Hustler Hollywood in Hollywood, California, attending a party and signing of her book Satisfaction. She says, men who hate women, men who hate who they are, who can't admit to their sexuality, who are pretending to be straight when they're not, and they hate women because they can't. They don't love women. Most of them want to be women and they can't, and they hate us. They beat us early and often. And here's the other thing about it. She has a point, and I agree with her. There's a lot of guys that are like that, but she has to understand that when starting that conversation, she ruins the conversation because she reveled and gained a little bit of notoriety and success. And she's also capitalizing off of the fact that she was superhead to married men, to a bunch of different men. And even though she's starting the conversation or she's a part of the conversation, she's also a part of the problem.
Uh-oh, stinky.
Because you could say that someone like Young Miami, Superhead, all these people are victims, and they are when you look at definitions and how the system would work. But in addition to them being, we'll just say, victims of a machine, they also hurt other people. They also benefited, and it's kind of one of those things where she's right, but because she'll always be known as Superhead, she's wrong. And that also helps keep the machine going and help to victimize others, because people will hear her warning and they'll be like, yeah, but she slept with such and such's husband and a bunch of other married men, and she'll be forever trash to me. So yeah, so another scene in her in a book, she remembers popping ecstasy and Diddy taking her and rapper Exhibit to a queer club. And another moment, Diddy allegedly warned the rapper, who she called a friend, that she was the type of woman who would have you, quote unquote, on tape with fingers in your back door. That was so weird. It was so weird, she says. And Exhibit thought it was weird. She says, I mean, we haven't even had relations, Diddy and I. So I'm like, well, that's a weird thing to say. And a lot of weird stuff happened. It continues to happen. And every person that comes forward and tells their story, someone else is going to say, well, yeah, you're saying that you experienced this, you were a victim of that, but what about what you did to me? And there's been an alleged memoir of Kim Porter that's been floating around that people have been reading, and Diddy's daughters, the twins, they feel like their dad has been targeted, and they say that the memoir is fake. And a lot of stuff is going to come to light. People who are Team Diddy are going to say it's fake, and people who are against Diddy will say it's not fake. You're not really going to know what's real and what's not real, even if it is paraded in court. This whole thing's a circus. And I think the only thing that really is going to matter is if Diddy does a plea deal, how much time he'll get. If he's found guilty, how much time he'll get. What names he drops. What evidence will be presented. And overall, who else will file a civil case. That's what people are going to remember. And his family, whether he's guilty or not, whether they're involved or not, they're going to be defending him, because they're not really defending him as their dad or him as a businessman, mogul, or what have you. They're also defending their own name. So anything that comes from the Diddy camp, as far as saying that something's fake and this is not right and this and that, understand that they're protecting their own self-interest, and you got to take what everybody says with a grain of salt. So I may end up doing this. I may end up, talking about this more. Who knows? So what do you think? Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. Thumbs up the video, share to your social media, subscribe, click the notification bell. I'm Spade Parkland. Thanks for watching. Go forth, do great things, and I'm out. Peace.